Good afternoon, Proof, and good afternoon, classmates. So today, I will be talking about one of the diagnostic categories under the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act or IDEA, which is the orthopedic impairment. So first, ato sang i-define kung unsa man ni ang orthopedic impairment. So, an orthopedic impairment is defined by the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act or IDEA as a severe orthopedic impairment that adversely affects a child's educational performance. IDEA specifies that this term includes impairments caused by a congenital anomaly like birth defects, impairments caused by disease such as poliomyelitis and bone tuberculosis, and impairments from other causes like cerebral palsy, amputations and fractures, or burns that cause contractures. So, ang orthopedic impairment badly affect a child's educational performance because it often affects the physical movement of a child. So, difficulty sa pag-bend, sa pag-control sa ilang muscles, and may also impede speech production or the way sila mo express sa ilahang language and words. So, it might be caused by the congenital anomaly like na-inherit sa ilang mga kaliwat or as a childborn kay some of the body parts are missing, and it can be caused by diseases and other causes pariha ng cerebral palsy and fractures that leads to inability to move or some body parts are not functioning well. As you can readily see, orthopedic impairments, so while much smaller in incidence, comprise a very broad, quite diverse category of disability. So in this category are such conditions as cerebral palsy, the muscular dystrophy, traumatic brain injury, epilepsy, the amputations or deletion of limbs. So, equally as important, there is quite a range of potential disabilities and effects within and across the category. So, despite the relative diversity ani nga category sa disability, so it comprises a small part of the overall special education population. So, it is categorized into three types: the neurological conditions or impairment, the musculoskeletal conditions or impairments, and the congenital malformations. So first is the neurological conditions or impairments. So mao na siya ang conditions that are result of damage or deterioration of the central nervous system such as the brain and spinal cord. So the extent of the damage or deterioration may be mild or severe, focal or limited in scope, or diffuse, and may cause limited impairment or extensive and long-lasting effects. So the neurological conditions include the epilepsy, the cerebral palsy, the traumatic brain injury, spinal cord injuries, and the spina bifida. Ang neurological conditions and impairment kay often affect the child movement of posture. So makapekto ni siya sa panglihok og sa posture sa usa ka bata nga anaay neurological impairment. So if the impairment is more diffuse, kay it causes other associated impairments such as speech and language difficulties, vision or hearing impairments, mental retardation or learning disabilities, and defects in academic or self-help skills. Then, the second type of the orthopedic impairment is the musculoskeletal condition or impairments. So this category contains condition that cause orthopedic or the physical impairment as a result of damage or the deterioration of the muscles or bones. The musculoskeletal conditions may result from defects in structure or function or diseases of the muscles or bones. Musculoskeletal conditions primarily affect the child's joints and muscles and affect the individual ability to move about, sit, stand, and possibly use their hands or arms. So, ang musculoskeletal conditions might be a result from defects in the structure or the function or diseases of the muscles or bones o makaapekto siya sa paglihok, sa paglingkod o pagbarog, and some of them kay ang ilahang gamiton aron sila makalakaw kay ilahang arms or ilahang kamot para ilaning magamit sa paglakaw or to move. So, the musculoskeletal conditions include the muscular dystrophy, the juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, and the arthrogryposis multiplex, the osteogenesis imperfecta, the clubfoot, the hip dysplasia, and the leg calf perthes. So, mauni siya ang mga conditions that includes in the musculoskeletal conditions. So, the third and the last type of the orthopedic impairments is the congenital malformations. So, these are conditions that result in malformation of the body. Typically, the congenital malformations are caused of a genetic defect, so the influence of a teratogen, virus, or bacteria, or simply a developmental accident. Congenital malfunctions may result in an improperly formed limb or the absence of part of the whole limb. So the malfunctions affects the child's abilities to move about, use certain body parts, and if extensively limit the child's ability to engage in a certain academic or self-care skills. So the congenital malfunctions include the missing limb or digits, the malformed limbs or digits. So some of these kay kanang ang sobra ang ilahang kamot, like 6 kabuok ang imbis fibra ang ato ang fingers kay masubraan, or either duhara ka opatra. Then some ani nila is ang ilahang tiil kay split, so pwede siya nga makwangan or masubraan. So let us now move on to the characteristics of orthopedic impairment. So first is spastic. Very tight muscles occurring in one or more muscles groups that result in stiff and uncoordinated movement. So ilang mga muscles kay hugot and harden nga maglisod sila og bend, so dili nila ma-flex, dili flexible, and inability to coordinate movements. Second is antithoid. So movements are contorted, abnormal, and purposeless. Actasic is poor balance and equilibrium in addition to uncoordinated voluntary movement. So difficulty sa pagbalance and loss of equilibrium and motor coordination. And mix, so the combination of spastic, the antithoid, and the aktasic. So, unsa man sad ang characteristic sa child nga naay orthopedic impairment. So, here are some. So, they are passive. So, mga pessimist ni sila. So, less persistent, having shorter attention span, engage in less exploration, and display less motivation. So they are more dependent on adults and have high anxiety o frustration. They are tender-minded and somewhat tense. So they possess a poor ego and unconscious guilt feelings. And they have this strong sense of fear and lack of confidence in their abilities. So mao ni sila ang some of the characteristics sa mga bata who has orthopedic impairment. So now, what are the causes? Unsa man ang mga causes sa orthopedic impairment? So, first is amputation. Mao na siya ang loss or removal of body parts such as kanang finger, the hand, the foot, the arm, or legs. So it can be a life-changing experience affecting the ability to move, work, interact with others, and maintain interdependence. So next is birth trauma. So ang birth trauma, it can be caused if as the mother is pregnant, so she experienced depression, anxiety niya, maka-affect siya sa bata. And next is burns, cerebral palsy, disease such as poliomyelitis and bone tuberculosis, so fractures, genetic abnormality, and injury. So mao ni siya ang causes anong naay orthopedic impairment. So naay uban nga inborn and naasay uban because of fractures or injury nga causes nga dili na kaayo makalihok and dili na mo function ang body parts. So what are the educational challenges? So considering the diversity in conditions that are embodied by the orthopedic impairments category, so ang educational challenges will differ case by case, and the strategies used in each case should be focused on a student's unique needs. So the possible academic barriers include the non-accessible transportation, the trouble maneuvering around the classroom, difficulty in navigating school hallways, earning mandated physical education credit, and difficulties in communicating effectively. So children with orthopedic impairment may face challenges accessing the transportation aron sa pag-adto sa eskwelahan o pag-uli. So trouble sa pag-maneuver around sa classroom, sa pag-navigate sa school hallways. So maglisod sad sila perform sa physical education. So dili sila maka-perform. And difficulties sa pag-interact or pag-communicate with their peers and classmates effectively. So most of them have additional impairment such as mental retardation, learning disabilities, perceptual problems, distractibility, and visual abnormalities that can often affect their school performance. So, kasagaran sa mga bata nga na ay orthopedic impairments kay naasad sila additional nga impairment that affects their school performance. So, big challenges kaayo siya sa pagskwela. So, that would be all for my report, and Miss Kieselyn Pukong will continue to the next subtopics. Thank you.